right, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. We're going to do another blending video today with different colors. I'm only going to use blue, yellow, and white. And I'm just going to show you another way to blend. So there's so many different ways to do things. You want to make sure you have these colors. I'm basically going to go from like blue into yellow, and then just we're going to add different colors. So what you can do is you can just blend directly on your canvas. So you can scoop up or squirt out your paint right where you want it to go. So I can just put some blue here on the bottom, and then I can take up some yellow right above that. And I still have some blue in there, and I'm just adding the yellow. Maybe add a little bit more yellow. And then maybe I add blue and a lot of white. And then maybe I just add more white and blue, maybe a little more yellow. You know, you can just add whatever colors you want. So see how I'm just putting it on there? That's really fun to do. So put the different colors on there. You can even just squirt it out, like however much you want. And then you're just going to take a clean brush, a clean dry brush. It doesn't have to be anything. And I usually pre-mix a tiny bit of water into my acrylic paints, just because I find that it helps my paint blend better, and it doesn't really get in the way of the way that it sticks on the canvas. That's just something I prefer to do. So it is something I found help with blending. Now, once I have that, I can go ahead and just take my brush and start rubbing the paint in, and see how it's just going to change. It's so cool. But notice how I can pull up and down, and it's going to do different stuff. Now, if you don't like, and again, it's going to have kind of a green look at first. If you don't like the shades you're getting, you can always wipe the excess paint off and add more blue or white to that specific area. But you're kind of just, we're playing, seeing what's going to happen. And I'm just going from side to side and then up and down. This is what's going to help with the blending. It's just letting it all kind of merge together, but it's going to change because I put different ratios of paint in different parts of the canvas. Now, this might be like somebody might enjoy this style if you really struggle with picking up the paint and getting what you want on there from the start. So like maybe you struggle with that. Maybe you struggle with adding the paint with the brush, and it's easier for you to just put the paint directly onto the canvas and then rub it out. So maybe that's you. And this also will give you like a thicker kind of paint outcome. I'm just kind of getting some of the paint off. It's like so much paint. This is a little much. But having a lot of paint keeps your paint wetter. So going up and down is actually going to help with the blending too. So if I take that lighter color down into this, it's going to help soften the color. So this is how you can create like a teal kind of greenish thing going on. I'm just going up and down. And notice I had a lot of white at the top, so that's what changed the color. And I can pull it down here too to kind of blend that out. So it's just another way to play with creating. And then again, if I wanted a little darker or more blue down at the bottom, this is something you can do to help with your color. So maybe I want less of this green. I can just wipe the excess paint off because it's super thick right now. I actually like the way that looks too anyway when I put paint on and then rub it off. That's another idea that you can play with because it really changes the color a little bit, and it gives you this really thin base of paint to layer on. It's almost like a wash, but without the water, without too much water, because sometimes if you add a wash with too much water, it's actually not great for the longevity of the painting if it's too much water. And then what you can do is just go back to your blue, add a little more blue down at the bottom, and then just clean your brush and then rub that in on top. And just notice how it changes the shade back to more of a blue tone, or just, yeah, more bluish. And then I can go up and kind of pull down, up and down, and just rub. And maybe you want it like brighter in some spots, or I don't know, you can really just play around. I'm gonna pull up and down a little bit with this lighter color at the top down into this. And then you just get this really subtle, very subtle kind of motion from these green blues into those lighter, brighter shades at the top. It's so easy to just put the paint on your canvas directly. Just make sure you get the different ratios you want. So if you want it to be lighter at the top, add more white up there. If you want it to be darker at the bottom, don't put too much white and keep it in your darker shades. So I just wanted that a little bit of a darker turquoise or green, or like blue-green at the bottom. And again, I can always add more blue down here. Just put it on, little scoops, and then rub it out. And then pull it up and down. So this is so fun. Maybe this is more like what you would have fun doing rather than just dipping your brush in the paint and adding it. So you have to experiment. I'm constantly inviting an experiment. This would be a really good background color for like maybe even an underwater scene or a garden scene where you have like, maybe this would be like grass that you could layer on top of, and then this would be like a turquoise kind of sky that you could layer on top of too. So you can do so many different things, but I can just take even more blue down here. Maybe I want a little more white and blue at the top to change the shade. So I can still layer and play. Just putting it on with the palette knife. I always recommend having a palette knife. They're so fun. I'll do the bottom first. It's darker. I want it to be a little darker down there. Or more blue, the bottom. And it's actually a little easier to blend like this because the paint, again, is going to be thicker because you're scooping it on like that. And it's going to just be easier. You can also just grab a clean brush to blend out. So if your paint is getting kind of sloshy, grab a clean brush. What that's going to do is the brush will kind of absorb some of the excess paint, and then sometimes that helps make it a little easier to adjust the color. So I'm just grabbing a clean brush, and I'm going to make it, I want to make it just a little lighter at the top. I added a little more white, a little more blue, so it'll change the shade just a smidge. And then rub it up and down. Pulling it all, I'm going all the way down through. And the paint is still pretty wet. Pretty crazy. I can even rub all the way down and up. And you can do this to your heart's content. Like, just keep going up and down, adding more if you want. But you know, as long as you see different shades kind of pulling through and you're like, all right, I'm happy with it, that looks fun, go ahead and let it go. But this is another simple way to blend with acrylics, just using scoops of paint directly on the canvas, with what colors you want, and then rubbing them in and then layering, wiping off excess if you need to. It's so simple. Grab a palette knife if you don't have one. They're so much fun to play with. And it helps to just not get too much paint into your paintbrush. That way it's more just like, okay, it's on there, and then you can spread it out. And with that said, I'm just gonna let it go, and I'll probably add something to this in one of my next tutorials, like add something on top of it. And maybe leave in the comments what you'd like to see painted on top. But I hope you had fun and learned a little bit. Hopefully you practiced your blending in this way along with me. And thanks again for watching. Hope you give a like, subscribe, and share to help me spread the joy of painting, which is what I absolutely love to do. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and bye.